Welcome to SSUC Online. We're so glad you've joined us tonight. My name is Nancy Steves, and on behalf of myself and my teammate Christopher New, who's our technician tonight, we're delighted to welcome you to this Easter production of the Velveteen Rabbit. We celebrate the creativity of Pam Patton, who found a way to bring this beloved story to life as an SSUC-produced radio play. So we are delighted that you've joined us to receive the work of a beloved cast of characters that you'll recognize, who take on the familiar characters of this story and give us the gifts of some of our musicians who helped to make this story real for us again. This timeless story offers a great question for our time: to consider what it is we make real, living our lives so much these days in a virtual world. This is a season to make our love real, to make our compassion real, to make our kindness real, to make our support and solidarity real. So just before we begin, we invite you to hear an invitation from our outreach team about one of the ways we can do just that, one of the ways we can express our support for something that is real, tangible, and makes a difference in the lives of women in our community. Here's Marg to tell us more.
I'm Marg Hetherington, and on behalf of the Outreach Committee, it is great to celebrate together a special Easter outreach project this year in conjunction with the Velveteen Rabbit presentation. As you've been reading in the e-messenger, Right at Home Housing has a new program called Sister Crew. It's a program that empowers and employs new Canadian and Indigenous women living within Right at Home housing. Interested women gain skills in finishing work, things like painting, laying tiles, and so on, and in small home repair maintenance. It's a learn and earn and friendship women's program where Right at Home Housing trains and offers jobs at a living wage to the women of Sister Crew. It's a great Easter project for us to support. So please give as you are able to this very practical, creative, and life-supporting women's initiative. Our checks and e-transfers go to Southminster Steiner, SSUC, and in the memo designation line, Sister Crew Easter Project. Thank you, everyone, and happy Easter.
Happy Easter, everyone. I'm Pam Patton. Almost everyone we know likely grew up with a favorite stuffed animal. Mine was a bear given me by my parents when they picked me up from the adoption agency at 2 months old. That bear traveled with me for nearly 60 years, and I still have its heart. It's a wind-up music box that was tucked in its tummy. I hope you can hear that. It's just a little bit of Puccini's Madama Butterfly aria. A sawdust stuffed rabbit covered in velveteen becomes such a treasure to a young boy. The rabbit's greatest desire is to become real, and he learns the secret to become real, a child's pure, unfeigned, enduring love. It's a love so deep, according to writer Margery Williams, that most cherished animal companions end up quite shabby by the end of their lives. But it doesn't matter one iota to their children, because that is the nature of true love. Imbuing each of her characters with human traits and emotions that readers could relate to, the Velveteen Rabbit, also known as How Toys Become Real, was the first of Williams' many and varied literary successes over a 45-year career. It was published in 1922, and it's her most celebrated and cherished work, likely due to the uncanny sincerity, the unconditional love, and the absolute tenderness that readers of all ages can detect in every line. It was illustrated by William Nicholson, who was a renowned painter, printmaker, and designer for the theater, and maybe is most famous for being Winston Churchill's painting teacher. We are so pleased to share with you our production of The Velveteen Rabbit, a radio play, and we hope it brings a smile to your face, maybe a tear to your eye, and a warm, lingering memory of your own prized childhood buddy. And now we present The Velveteen Rabbit.
There was once a rabbit.
I am a Velveteen Rabbit.
Pardon me, a Velveteen Rabbit. And in the beginning, she was splendid.
I am really splendid,
She was fat and bunchy.
as a rabbit should be.
Her coat was spotted brown and white. She had real thread whiskers, and her ears were lined with pink sateen.
On Christmas morning, when she sat wedged in the top of the boy's stocking,
The boy, he does have a name.
it doesn't matter, Nana.
Oh,
On Christmas morning, wedged in the boy's stocking, with a sprig of holly between her paws, the effect was charming.
Utterly and completely charming.
there are other things in your stocking, you know. Look, here, nuts and oranges, a toy engine, chocolate almonds, a clever clockwork mouse.
But the Velveteen Rabbit is the best of all.
The boy hugged her to himself, and for at least 2 hours, he loved his new Velveteen Rabbit.
Utterly and completely loved her. And then,
The aunts and uncles came to dinner. There was a great rustling of tissue paper and unwrapping of parcels, and in the excitement of all the new presents,
let me guess, the Velveteen Rabbit was forgotten?
yes, utterly and completely forgotten.
And that was that?
Fortunately, that wasn't that, for we'd have no story to tell, would we?
Just the age-old tale of how toys can move in and out of favor so quickly. But that is not our story.
The Velveteen Rabbit lives in our toy cupboard, or is tossed carelessly aside on the nursery floor or under the bed with the other bunnies, the dust bunnies, I mean, and no one thinks very much about her.
She was naturally shy, and being only made of velveteen, some of the more expensive toys quite snubbed her.
The mechanical toys acted superior, looking down upon everyone else. They were full of modern ideas and pretended they were real.
For example, the model boat, having lived through 2 seasons with the boy and lost most of his paint in the process, caught the tone from the others and never missed an opportunity to refer to his rigging in technical, nautical terms no one else understood at all.
I am not a model of anything. I am just me.
The Velveteen Rabbit didn't know that real rabbits existed. She thought they were all stuffed with sawdust, like herself.
But she understood sawdust was quite out of date and should never be mentioned in modern circles.
Never.
Even Timothy,
Who was he again?
the jointed wooden lion, made by disabled soldiers? Well, he should have had broader views, but he put on such airs and pretended he was connected with government of all things. Between them all, the poor Velveteen Rabbit was made to feel very insignificant and commonplace.
The only one who likes me at all is the skin horse.
Living longer in the nursery than any of the others, I have seen a lot in my time. I am so old, my brown coat is bald in patches and shows the seams underneath.
Tell him about your tail.
Most of the hairs in my tail have been pulled out to string bead necklaces.
The skin horse was wise,
Very wise.
for he had seen a long succession of mechanical toys arrive to boast and swagger about. And by their mainsprings would break, and they'd be unceremoniously binned, gone forever.
They're only toys and can never turn into anything else. They don't know about the nursery magic.
Nursery magic is very strange and wonderful, and only playthings that are old and wise,
And experienced, like the skin horse.
like the skin horse, understand it.
One day, the Velveteen Rabbit asked the skin horse,
What is real? Does it mean having things buzz inside you and a stick-out handle?
Real isn't how you were made, my friend. It's a thing that happens to you when a child loves you for a long, long time. Not just to play with, but really loves you. Then you become real.
Does it hurt?
Sometimes.
the skin horse was always truthful.
Painfully truthful.
When you are real, you don't mind being hurt.
Does it happen all at once, like being wound up, or bit by bit?
It doesn't happen all at once. You become.
Oh,
It takes a long, long time. That's why it doesn't happen often to things that break easily, or have sharp edges, or have to be kept high out of reach.
The Velveteen Rabbit shook her head as if she understood completely.
But really, she did not.
Generally, by the time you are real, most of your hair has been loved off, and your eyes have dropped out, and you are loose in your joints and very shabby.
Oh, no.
But these things don't matter at all, because once you are real, you know you are loved, and that's all that matters.
When did you become real?
The boy's uncle made me real a long, long time ago.
The skin horse sighed and smiled, lost in his happy memories.
That was a great many years ago. But once you are real, you can't become unreal again. It lasts for always.
The Velveteen Rabbit looked very disappointed.
I don't think the nursery magic will ever happen to me. The boy doesn't even know I'm alive.
She so longed to become real, and yet the idea of growing shabby and losing her eyes and whiskers made her rather sad. She wished she could become real without all those uncomfortable things happening.
Don't we all?
And then, one evening at bedtime,
I can't find the China dog I always sleep with.
I'm in a hurry, and it's too much trouble to hunt for China dogs at bedtime.
So Nana simply looked about her and, seeing the toy cupboard open, swooped into it like a great wind.
Ah, your old bunny. It'll do.
she dragged the Velveteen Rabbit out by one ear and put her into the boy's arms.
Bunny!
That night,
And for many nights thereafter,
My Velveteen Rabbit sleeps with me from now on in my bed.
and she did.
from then on,
Sometimes it's rather uncomfortable, for you hug me very tight and sometimes roll over on top of me and sometimes push me so far under the pillow I can scarcely breathe.
I'm sorry, my bunny.
Oh, I don't mind all that much.
At first, the Velveteen Rabbit missed the long moonlit hours in the nursery when all the house was silent, and she could talk with the skin horse. But very soon, she grew to love it, for the boy would talk to her and make nice tunnels for her under the bedclothes.
See here? Let's imagine these are the burrows real rabbits live in. Let's have an adventure. Come on.
the boy would grasp the Velveteen Rabbit in his hand and transport her up and down in the air, in and out of the bed burrows, making believe, chasing other rabbits, and having all sorts of adventures together.
I do love to listen at his door. It brings me such joy to hear him play his splendid games with that bunny. In whispers, mind you. Once I've left his nightlight burning on the mantelpiece, and he thinks I've gone away to my supper.
And when the boy dropped off to sleep, the Velveteen Rabbit would snuggle under the boy's warm little chin and dream with the boy's arms clasped round her.
I am so happy, so very happy.
The Velveteen Rabbit was indeed so happy. She never noticed how her velveteen fur was getting shabbier and shabbier, and her tail was becoming unsewn.
And all the pink rubbed off her nose where the boy kissed her.
The two friends shared long days together in the garden.
Wherever my boy goes, I go too.
Hey, want to ride in the wheelbarrow?
Yes, let's.
Want to have a picnic on the grass?
Of course.
A rest in the shade?
Why, my lovely fairy hut, built just for me, under my favorite raspberry canes, behind the flower border. Don't mind if I do.
Every day was a new adventure. And then, one day,
Dusk came upon them, and the boy heard his Nana calling him into the house.
Come on in. It's time for your tea, young man.
in his excitement,
You know how children can be. Well, to be truthful, most any of us.
the boy rushed off, carelessly abandoning his friend out on the lawn until long after dark. Later, the boy escaped his Nana
Who came running behind him.
and rushed out in his pajamas in search of his playmate.
Bunny, Bunny, I lost you. Where are you? Where are you hiding? I can't go to sleep without you. Bunny, Bunny.
You'll catch your death of cold, young man. Fancy all this fuss, just for a silly toy.
You mustn't say that. My bunny isn't a toy. She's real.
At that, the Velveteen Rabbit perked up her ears and felt her heart grow.
Oh, joy! What the skin horse told me is true at last. The nursery magic has happened, and I am no longer a toy. I am real. My boy himself says so. I am real.
That night, the Velveteen Rabbit was almost too happy to sleep. So much love stirred in her little sawdust heart that it almost burst,
And into her boot-button eyes,
that had long ago lost their polish.
there came a look of wisdom and beauty.
Even Nana noticed it the next morning when she picked up the Velveteen Rabbit. From atop the twisted bed sheets, the boy had left in a heap on the floor in his rush to get to breakfast.
Typical boy.
I declare, this old bunny has quite a knowing expression this morning.
Now, near the house where they lived, there was a wood. In the long evenings, the boy liked to go out there after tea to play.
What shall we do tonight? Pick flowers or play at brigands among the trees?
The Velveteen Rabbit, who was content doing anything,
So long as the boy was there.
kept her counsel to herself.
I know. I'll make you a little nest among the brackens so you'll be cozy.
You are the most kind-hearted friend.
Well, I'd like you to be comfortable.
Thank you.
His friends safely tucked in, the boy wandered off into his own world, leaving the Velveteen Rabbit lying there alone, watching the ants run to and fro between her velvet paws on the grass.
Suddenly, she saw two strange beings creep out of the tall bracken nearby.
They were rabbits like herself, but quite furry and seemingly brand new.
They are so well made, their seams don't show at all. And their ears twitch and their eyes sparkle.
The two interlopers took a tentative hop toward the Velveteen Rabbit.
And they change shape in a queer way when they move. One minute they're long and thin, and the next they're fat and bunchy. How unusual.
Their feet padded softly on the ground as they crept closer and closer to the Velveteen Rabbit.
They constantly twitched their noses, and their ears almost never stopped moving. The Velveteen Rabbit stared hard at each of them to see from which side their clockwork stuck out.
I can't see it. They are evidently a new kind of rabbit altogether.
The furry rabbit stared at her, and the Velveteen Rabbit stared back.
Finally, one of them spoke.
Why don't you get up and play with us?
Yeah, come play with us. How about tag? You're it.
I don't feel like it, and I don't want to be it.
What she really didn't want to do was explain that she had no clockwork.
Oh, It's as easy as anything.
Easy peasy.
With that, the furry rabbits gave a big hop sideways and stood on their hind legs.
I don't believe you can stand tall like this.
I can.
I don't believe you can jump.
I can.
I don't believe you can hop on your hind legs.
I can.
I don't believe you can spin around and do a pirouette.
These were all hurtful accusations, for the Velveteen Rabbit had no hind legs at all, and certainly couldn't stand, jump, hop, or pirouette. The back of her was made all in one piece.
Like a pincushion.
She sat still near the bracken and hoped the other rabbits wouldn't notice.
I don't want to jump and hop and spin and do pirouettes.
But wild rabbits have very sharp eyes. They stretched out their necks and looked at her, then tut-tutted the way only rabbits of a certain ilk can.
You don't have any hind legs.
Fancy a rabbit without any hind legs.
And then, to make matters worse, they began to laugh at the Velveteen Rabbit.
I have got hind legs. I'm just sitting on them.
Then stretch them out and show us.
Yeah, show us you can do what we can do.
And the wild rabbits began to whirl around and dance till the Velveteen Rabbit got quite dizzy watching them.
I don't like dancing. I like sitting still.
But all the while, deep inside, she was just longing to dance. A funny, new, tickly feeling ran through her, and she felt she would give anything in the world to be able to cavort about with these wild, furry rabbits.
Eventually, they stopped dancing and came close.
So close, their whiskers brushed the Velveteen Rabbit's ear.
In less than a heartbeat, they wrinkled their noses and flattened their ears and leapt backwards,
2 big hops.
away from the puzzled Velveteen Rabbit.
She doesn't smell right.
She isn't a rabbit at all. She isn't real.
I am real. I am real. My boy says so.
She nearly began to cry, poor dear. But just then, there was a sound of footsteps, and the boy ran past.
With a stamp of little feet and a flash of furry white tails, the 2 wild rabbits disappeared into the bracken.
Come back and play with me. Oh, do come back. I know I'm real.
But there was no answer, only the relentless line of ants marching to and fro, and the tall bracken swaying like hands waving goodbye, where the 2 strangers had departed in such a hurry.
The Velveteen Rabbit was all alone, and for the first time in her life, she felt truly lonely.
Why did they run away like that? Why wouldn't they stay and talk?
For a long time, she lay still, hoping they would come back. But they didn't. Presently, the sun sank lower, and the little white moths fluttered around her. The boy carried her home, unaware of her wounded heart.
Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far away. Now it looks as though they're here to stay. Oh, I believe in yesterday.
Weeks passed, months even, and the Velveteen Rabbit grew older and shabbier.
But the boy loved her just as much.
So much he loved all her whiskers off, and the pink lining in her ears turned gray, and her brown spots faded. She even began to lose her shape.
To be honest, she scarcely looked like a rabbit at all by then.
I don't care how I look to anyone else, because the nursery magic made me real, and when you are real, shabbiness doesn't matter. That's what the skin horse said.
More time passed, and then one day, the boy was very sick.
I'm so worried. His face is very flushed. He talks in his sleep, and his little body is so hot. The doctor comes and goes, and a light burns all night, every night. I would give anything for him to feel better. Anything.
I'll just lie here quietly, hidden from sight under the bedclothes. I'm afraid if they find me, they might take me away, and I'm sure my boy needs me.
It was a long, wearying time. The boy was too sick to play, and the Velveteen Rabbit found it rather dull, with nothing to do all day long.
I'll be patient and dream of the time when my boy is well again, and we can go out in the garden amongst the flowers and the butterflies and play splendid games in the woods like we used to.
Then the Velveteen Rabbit had a brilliant idea for how she could actually help the boy get better.
I'll plan all sorts of delightful adventures for us. And while my boy lies asleep, I'll creep up close to his pillow and whisper them in his ear when no one's looking.
And that's what she did.
For days.
Days and days and days and days.
And then, one morning,
Oh, good. Your fever has finally turned, young man, and you are getting better, much better indeed. Today, you may sit up in bed and look at picture books.
Oh, goody.
then, finally, one bright sunny day, the doctor allowed the boy to get up and take some sun.
Here, let me help you get dressed.
Gently, Nana helped him into some fresh pajamas, a warm robe, and his slippers.
Doctor, can you please carry him outside to the balcony? I'll bring his bedclothes and a shawl and a nice cup of cocoa.
Up you get, young man. Climb on my back, and I'll carry you out. I've no doubt Nana will make you comfortable and ensure that you're kept warm. Up you go.
The doctor carried the boy out to a sun-dappled veranda and placed him gently in a soft chaise lounge. Nana fussed about tucking him in, not at all aware of the Velveteen Rabbit tangled up in the bedclothes.
And now I have some good news for you.
You do?
We are going to the seaside tomorrow.
The seaside. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I can't wait to see the big waves come crashing in. Oh, and the tiny crabs crawling about. And the sand castles. Oh, and the seagulls circling overhead, squawk, squawk, squawking.
He was so excited, he pulled off his covers and waved his arms without restraint in conducting the make-believe gulls in their circle eights and their swoops and dives. Concerned, Nana rushed over to calm him down and tuck him back in.
Oh, you are definitely feeling much better, young man. But you still need to keep warm and quiet today, so you're healthy enough for tomorrow.
Nana retucked the covers in a most efficient manner, but didn't see the Velveteen Rabbit, who had poked her head out of the bedclothes at the word seaside. She was that excited, both for herself and for the boy.
I can't wait to see the big waves, the tiny crabs, the sandcastles, and the seagulls, too.
Everything is all arranged. It only remains to carry out the doctor's orders. Your room is to be disinfected, and all the books and toys must be burned.
Burnt?
Oh, we'll get you some new things. Never you mind.
Just then, Nana caught sight of the shabby, soiled Velveteen Rabbit and pointed it out to the doctor, asking,
What about his bunny? It's his favorite.
That old thing? Why, it's a mass of scarlet fever germs. Burn it at once. Get him a new one. He mustn't touch that one ever again.
While the boy napped outside in the sunshine, Nana put the Velveteen Rabbit into a sack with the old picture books and a lot of rubbish and carried it out to the end of the garden behind the fowl house.
Behind the fowl house is a fine place to make a bonfire. It's too bad the gardener's too busy digging potatoes and gathering green peas today to attend to it. I hope he keeps his promise to come early tomorrow to burn the whole lot.
That night, the boy slept in a different bedroom with a new bunny to sleep with. A splendid bunny, all white plush with glass eyes, real glass eyes.
The boy was too excited about the seaside to care very much about anything else.
Especially not some beat-up old bunny.
And while the boy lay peacefully sleeping, dreaming of the seaside, a discarded, germ-laden Velveteen Rabbit lay less than peacefully among the old picture books in the corner behind the fowl house, feeling very lonely and sorry for herself.
The sack had been left untied. By wriggling just a bit, the Velveteen Rabbit was able to get her head through the opening and see out.
Nearby, she saw the thicket of raspberry canes growing tall and close, like a tropical jungle.
That's where we played during all those summer days. How happy we were.
And a great sadness overcame her.
Memories of all their wonderful days and evenings together passed before her, each one more beautiful than the one before.
The fairy huts in the flower bed, the quiet evenings in the wood when I lay in the bracken and the ants ran over my paws, and the best day ever when I first knew I was real.
She thought of the skin horse, so wise and gentle, and all she had learned from her first true friend.
But what use is it to be loved and lose one's beauty and become real if it all ends like this?
And a tear
A real tear
trickled down her shabby velvet nose and fell to the ground.
Then a strange thing happened.
Two strange things.
A most unusual flower started to grow, and the sweet voice of a stranger, as yet unseen, was heard.
When a tear falls, dear friend, a flower grows. A mysterious flower, not at all like anything you've ever seen before. See how its slender leaves are the rich color of emeralds? And in the center, its blossom a golden cup.
It is so beautiful. I can't stop watching it.
Indeed, it was so beautiful, she forgot to cry.
And when the blossom opens, out steps me. Ta-da!
She was quite the loveliest fairy in the whole world. Her dress was of pearl and dewdrops, and there were flowers round her neck and in her hair.
And your face is like the most perfect flower of all.
Oh, why, thank you, my dear.
The fairy came close to the Velveteen Rabbit and gathered her up, kissing her on the tip of her velveteen nose that was all damp from crying.
Little rabbit, do you know who I am?
I feel I have seen your face and known you before, but I can't think where.
I am the Nursery Magic. I take care of all the playthings children love. When they are old and worn out, and the children don't need them anymore, I come and take them away with me and turn them into real.
Aren't I real already?
You are real to the boy because he loves you. Now you will be real to everyone and everything. Come.
The fairy held the Velveteen Rabbit close in her arms, and they flew off together, deep into the woods.
Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars and all the world.
The leaves glimmered, and the bracken fronds shone like frosted silver.
In the open glade between the tree trunks, a colony of wild rabbits danced with their shadows on the velvet grass. But when they saw the fairy, they stopped dancing and stood round in a ring to stare at her.
I've brought you a new playmate. You must be very kind to her and teach her all she needs to know in Rabbitland, for she is going to live with you forever and ever.
The fairy kissed her and put her down.
Run and play, little rabbit. Run and play.
But the little rabbit sat quite still for a moment.
She didn't move. Why didn't she move?
I don't want all these rabbits to see I'm made all in one piece. I don't want them to laugh at me because I haven't any hind legs. Not again.
My dear, when I kissed you, I changed you altogether.
The Velveteen Rabbit might have sat there a long time, too shy to move, if just then something hadn't tickled her nose.
Before she thought what she was doing, she lifted her hind toe to scratch it.
I have hind legs. I have hind legs. I have hind legs.
And instead of dingy, faded velveteen,
I have fur. Real fur, soft and shiny fur.
Her ears twitched by themselves, and her whiskers were so long they brushed the grass.
she gave one leap, one massive leap, and the joy of using those hind legs was so great, she went springing about wildly, jumping sideways and whirling around, pirouetting with the others.
She was so excited that when at last she remembered to thank the fairy, she discovered the fairy was gone. She'd slipped away without anyone noticing.
I'm sorry. I didn't get to thank you properly. Thank you. Thank you.
The fairy's voice was heard from afar, beyond the glade.
It's quite all right. You deserve to be a real rabbit for all the love you gave your boy. Now, you are a real rabbit at last, at home with the other rabbits. Live well, rabbit. Live well.
Thank you.
You are welcome. You are so very welcome.
Autumn passed, and winter, and in the spring, when the days grew warm and sunny again, the boy went out to play in the woods behind the house.
While he was playing, 2 rabbits crept out from the bracken and peeped at him.
One was brown all over, but the other had strange markings under her fur, as though long ago she had been spotted, and the spots still showed through.
And about her little soft nose and her round black eyes, there was something kind and oddly familiar.
Why, she looks just like my old bunny that was lost when I had scarlet fever.
But you'll never know it is me, your own bunny, come back to check on the child who first helped me to be real. Thank you, thank you.
And the Velveteen Rabbit lived
Wait for it. Happily ever after.
The